Hi there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel and welcome to Mixed Media Mayhem. Today we are doing our Mixed Media Mayhem Hop, which is the final Friday of each month. There's an inspiration piece, and this is our inspiration today. It is from the Vicky Booten design team, and I apologize, I don't know who the actual original creator is. And so we are just doing something similar or inspired by this particular piece. So I am starting out with some Catherine Pooler ink, and I'm using ginger, which is the orange color that you see there. And I am doing some mixed media. Now, I'm going to tell you right off, I'm going to redo this mixed media later. I don't know. The placement of things was not quite what I wanted, and I think it was just a little bit too much. I end up putting a little bit of this Dina Wakley media gloss on it in a color called Night. And then a little bit more of that same orange ginger ink pad from Catherine Pooler. And it looks great there, and I should have just left it alone, but I don't know. I messed around with it, and it just was a little bit more than what I wanted. So I left this in because I wanted you to see that, it doesn't always work out 100% for everybody the first time around, and sometimes we have to redo things. Even if we are people who create frequently and often. I actually had taken a little bit of a break because I had been sick, and I just, I don't know. It just wasn't working out the way I wanted it to work out. And honestly, I wanted more of a ripped effect on the edge of those papers because I am going to distress the bottom edge of each one of those papers, but the right hand edge, I wanted a more distressed look. So I do end up ripping the whole thing up, and not ripping it up, but ripping it apart and making that a ripped edge. So for these layered pieces, I didn't really measure, but they're approximately 1.5 to 2 inches wide, and they are 1.5 to 2 inches tall, and they are 6 inches wide. And I am distressing all of the edges with my awesome distressing tool from Some Assemblage Required. And if you're new to my channel, I never really liked distressing papers in the past, but this particular tool, it's really easy to hold on to, and it works really well. And now I kind of am just embracing distressing things and loving it. So highly recommend it. I'll put a link for it down below in case you're interested in picking one of those up. And she may be out of stock, but if you put your name on the list to be notified when they're back in stock, you will get a notification because she does restock these periodically. So, that corrugated paper it's got a huge corrugation on it, so I did flatten those out by just pressing down on it with my fingers in multiple directions, so it would kind of like flatten it down in an imperfect manner, and I really like the way that it ends up looking. I don't normally use corrugated paper that is quite so big, but these ones, this is what I had, and so that's what I went with. I am just using a variety of colors here variety of colors that go with my photo. In the photo, the little guy, it's the little the baby that I've been taking care of, and he's wearing some like green shorts, and everything else is kind of tan, but there's a little bit of a orange hue in the photo, so I'm just going with that. I started with the striped paper as inspiration, and it does have like a darker blue in it and a green stripe and an orange stripe. So that's what kind of decided my color options or color choices that I made. And I really like the way that this ends up looking with all of those stripes. I don't know if the paper in the inspiration piece came already striped, or it doesn't seem to be layers, so it might just be one sheet of paper. But I decided to go ahead and use multiple sheets of paper, and most of this was out of my scrap bin. Actually, all of it was out of my scrap bin with the exception of the actual striped piece that I started with. Now, I'm also not going to put a bunch of flowers on it. I don't mind flowers on a boy layout, but I don't end up going with flowers. I end up going with some other odds and ends. And those were given to me by MK. We actually happened to be together while I was making this layout, and she saw that I was making it, and she pulled out some really old little yellow bicycle stickers and offered them to me. And so I took her up on that, and that's what I'm going to end up going with on this layout. I am backing my photos with this blue. I thought that the blue would work better. Because I've got blue in my mixed media, I didn't put a lot of green. I thought the blue kind of picked up better than the green. Even though he's wearing the green shorts, his shorts are like an army green, so they don't really read as like a bright green or anything. There's a lot of neutrals in this photo. So I'm going to go with the blue. And then when I flip the blue over, I saw there's a 3x4 card that has some orange stripes on it that I wanted to use, which I didn't end up using, but I wanted to. So I am going to piece together my backing. So there you see the orange striped paper. I decided to cut that out and not use the orange stripes on this particular layout. I am going to save that piece, thinking I am going to use it on this layout. And then I'm going to just piece together the backing for my second photo. And you can't even tell. I think that's, a good way to do that. If you want to save a piece of the paper or you don't have quite enough, you can piece it together. Nobody's going to know. They're not going to be sitting there tearing your layout apart, hopefully, and checking that out. And like I said, you can't even tell. So there it is. I am going to distress the edges of these photos, just not the photos, but the backer, the mat on the photos, just a little bit. I don't go hog wild on that because I didn't leave a big border. I just left a little tiny one, which is really what I prefer. And here is the sticker sheet from Little Yellow Bicycle, and as you can see there, it matches just about perfect. The dark blue and the orange. You can see some of the stickers sitting on my spray bottle at the top of the top right hand corner there. And one says, "What an awesome kid." I thought that was really cute, and I'm gonna just go ahead and go with those. And these little circular pieces, I didn't really like the saying, or the saying actually was not applicable that was in that piece with the flourish, so I just cut it in half. I'm tucking the saying portion in so you can't read it. And then I'm going to layer up these other bits. Now I am inking everything with black Soot Distress ink, and that was mainly because that's what I had on hand. Again, I'm not at my house. I'm at my friend Joni's house, and I did not have, for whatever reason, I didn't even bring the foam pad that goes on my ink applicator tool. The ink applicator tool is sitting right there at the top of the screen, but I had no foam for it. So I borrowed that little foam fingertip dauber from my friend Cindy. So shout out to Cindy. Thank you for that. And just decided to use black ink because that is the color of dauber that she had available, and that was the ink that I had on hand. So you make do with what you have and make it work. So I'm liking the way that this is coming out so far. And actually, I like the mixed media so far as well. I'm going to pop this little circular piece and the bottom circular piece that says "What an awesome kid" up onto some foam. The foam is just the Fun Foam from Walmart. It is adhesive backed. I prefer to put the adhesive backed portion onto the actual the sticker or ephemera piece that I'm putting down. And then I use a little liquid glue to adhere it to my layout. And I prefer Nuvo Deluxe adhesive because it dries quick, it dries clear, and doesn't usually clog. So now I pulled out some mixed media stamps, and I don't even remember where this particular stamp is from that I'm currently using. And this is where I'm like, things just did not go the way I wanted them to go. So I don't mind this orange piece. That is an ink called Spiced from Catherine Pooler, and I don't mind these little blue dots, but I didn't like this particular stamp that I'm using currently, and I've used it before, and every time I use it I kind of regret it. It's just like it's not really a grid, it's kind of like a grid, but it's on the diagonal, and I'm just not a huge fan of it for whatever reason. And then I started adding green. Deck the Halls is the name of the color. It is the right green, but it just got to be too much. And then I'm going to splatter, and that added too much. And sometimes knowing when to stop is the name of the game. And I should know better, but I had not scrapbooked or done anything mixed media for, I don't know, week and a half or so. And so, sometimes when you take a little tiny break like that, even if it's only like a week or two, you kind of feel like you're starting all over again with remembering how to do this stuff, which I know sounds really silly, but I normally create every day, and a week to a week and a half is a really long break for me. And it just, I don't know, it just felt like I forgot what I was doing. So here I'm back at home. I am taking it all apart. I'm going to pull, actually, I'm not even going to pull the photo off. I'm just going to cut around it because I wasn't happy with the background, and I really wanted this ripped edge on this piece, which I know seems kind of silly because it still looks pretty straight even when it's ripped, but it was just too straight for me. Normally I don't mind that, but everything else is already distressed, and so having it a nice perfect cut just felt really weird to me. So I pulled out another piece of white paper, and I did the same technique, a little bit of orange, ginger, Catherine Pooler ink, and I know that looks like I've got a lot more on it, but I'm not going to add much more to this. I'm just going to add a little bit of stamping. I'm not going to do a bunch of splatter or anything like that. And I actually am going to build up my embellishment area just a tiny bit as well. So I pulled out that same stamp set with a note to myself not to use that grid looking one. I guess it is actually a grid anyway. And I am using those same dots, but instead of using them in the same blue, which originally I used dress blues, which is a little bit brighter, I decided to pull in this Catherine Pooler ink called Juniper Mist, which is more of a navy, which is more along the lines of the blue that is in the stripes. And I like that a lot better. It's a little bit darker. It's got more of a grounding effect to it because it reads more like a black or a really dark, well, in my opinion, navy is a neutral, because I figure if you can wear jeans, navy, dark jeans with anything, it's a neutral. That might be flawed logic, but that is what I'm going with. Now, I did also pull in some brown, and the color that I'm using there is, I believe, called Over Coffee. I don't know. It's either Over Coffee or it's Macchiato. It's Macchiato. Of course, it's the one I didn't think it was, which is another brown from Catherine Pooler. And it's a really dark brown, so it kind of has that same grounding effect. Rather than adding more vibrancy to it, it's going to like settle the layout a little bit more and make it, I don't know what the right word is for it, but it kind of grounds the whole thing and makes it feel like it's supposed to be there. Now, I went through my little bin of orange ephemera. So when I get done with an ephemera pack or sticker sheet and pairing it with the collection it came with, and I get down to the last bits of it, I will cut it up and put it in with my colors, sort it by color into my color bins. And that's what that orange bin is. I found that orange card in there, 3x4 card, and I'm going to use that right up at the top. And that made me pull everything down a little bit because the card is tall. I wanted to leave a little bit of journaling space for this little guy's mom to go ahead and write some things about him at this particular age. This is just after his 5-month milestone, and so I wanted to leave a little bit of space for her to write some of this down, or some notes down about him. And so I did also have to extend my mixed media because a lot of it's getting covered up with that card, and I think that's totally okay. It looks like there's a lot on there, but once the entire ephemera, or the entire portion with the photos and ephemera attached to it, gets placed down, it's not going to show that much. So liking how that's looking. I did ink up that card with some Black Soot Distress ink just because I had already inked up everything else prior with some of that Black Soot Distress ink. And so I'm liking the way that it's coming together. I also found this little label. I actually found 2 labels that have orange around them that I'm going to add, for one for the date and one for a little additional journaling. I did use my Macchiato ink, and I inked up the torn edge of those papers with some of that dark brown, and I'm liking how that looks. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere everything down with my A to G. While I do that, Don't forget, this is a hop that we do every month at the last Friday of the month. There are a bunch of people playing along with the Mixed Media Mayhem. You can check out their links down below and see what they've got for you. They will all be doing layouts based on the same layout that I have in the upper right hand corner there. There is a little visual of all of the colors that I used there, and now I'm going to add some dark brown enamel dots from Gina Marie Studios. Or Gina Marie Designs, and I'm just adding a little bit of liquid adhesive to go ahead and make sure those stick in place. And I really like that these are dark brown because it kind of plays off of that macchiato stamp that I used, as well as the macchiato I edged the center or the papers on the left hand side with. And lastly, I am going to use some black letters. I'm trying to use up some of the stuff in my stash, and I have a lot of thickers, especially these phrases, and so I'm trying to use those up and get them onto layouts and out of my stash. So the title here is just plain Smitten, and I think the black works fine because I've got some black ink around a lot of that ephemera, and I just like the pop of black with some of those more bold colors like the orange and the green. So pretty happy with the way that it came out at the end. And that is it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you have questions or comments, you can leave them down below. I apologize for being gone for a little while, but I'm back, and hope to have layouts for you a few times a week through the month of July. And I hope you come back and check out my channel again. If you enjoyed this video, I would love a thumbs up. And if you are not already subscribed, I would love for you to subscribe as well. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget, links are down below in case you're interested in checking out everyone else. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.